Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm here with another installment of my Jane Iredale base series. So I'm going through all of the foundation base products that Jane Iredale carries. So far I've done liquid minerals and pure press base. And today I'm going to be doing amazing base. This is exactly what the name says. It is absolutely amazing. I've used it on myself. I have used it in my makeup in your 50s video on a client. It's an absolutely gorgeous foundation product slash powder product. Just like with everything else, there's certain ways of using it where you can get the absolute best results. So that's what I'm going to show you today. Now, because it is a powder foundation, I do like to do concealer first. I have a tiny bit of corrector underneath my eyes, but I don't have any concealer, so I'm just gonna stick a tiny bit of the Chantecaille Future Skin just under my eyes. I really don't want to take it down because I don't want to miss showing y'all the coverage that the actual powder foundation has. So I'm going to blend this out and set it, and then we will go ahead and get on to the foundation application. A little bit about the amazing base. First, it does come in 20 shades. All but 4 of them have an SPF 20. The 4 darkest shades only have an SPF of 15. And I'm assuming that this is because the more mineral components of an SPF blocker that you put in a product, the more it can tend to lighten the pigment. And obviously the darker shades want to keep that dark pigment. So that is SPF 15, but the first 16 shades are SPF 20. This retails for $48 and it comes with a very good amount of product. I don't see on here, this is actually a tester, so I don't see how much product comes in, but I'll try to put it on the screen. Now, if you are familiar with the Pure Press base, the colors are the same names, but they do not coincide. So I am Golden Glow in the Pure Press base. However, I am Warm Sienna in the Amazing base, which is 1 shade lighter. The reason for this is because this foundation has the most amount of pigment of any base products in the Jane Iredale line. Because there is so much more pigment, a lot of times it can come off darker when applying it on the skin. For that reason, I do suggest going down 1 shade if you are comparing it to what you are in the Pure Press. So again, I am Warm Sienna in this, I am Golden Glow in the Pure Pressed. If I wake up, put my skincare on, and immediately come in and do my makeup, I personally don't feel the need to prime my skin because I still have a little bit of tackiness left from my skincare. However, on this particular day and a lot of other days when I apply my makeup, my skincare has been on for a couple of hours. In that case, I do feel the need to add a little bit of a primer or something underneath it to help in the adherence of the actual product. So I'm gonna use a little bit of the Smooth Affair Illuminating Glow Face Primer from Jane, and I'm just gonna kind of tap it in. You don't have to use a brush. It's just what I have, and I felt like using a brush. So I'm just kind of stippling that into the skin. Pull my hair back for the actual foundation application. There is a particular way to use this foundation. So I'm gonna get a little bit, just tap a little bit onto the cap. They do suggest that you use a certain brush, and I'm gonna tell you that I highly suggest this brush too. I'm not saying you need to go out and buy this particular brush, but if you have something similar, I would definitely use that. I just feel like it works very well. This is the Chisel Powder Brush. So you can see it is very flat, but it's also kind of fluffy. It's not super dense. I don't know that I would recommend using something incredibly dense for this because of how much pigment it has in it. To me, less is more to start, and then you can build it up. And I'll show you a way if you really need coverage to get the most amount. But to start, I would recommend using a brush like this. So I just basically fill the brush up on both sides. Now this is meant to be applied in a downward motion. The reason is the minerals are made in a way where they bind together the best and provide the best coverage if they are laid on the face like fish scales, basically, all going in one direction versus buffing it in. So at least for the first layer, that is how I like to apply it and how they recommend applying it. So I've got a good amount on the brush, and I'm just gonna start right in the middle, and I'm just going to do exactly that. I'm just going to go in downward strokes, and then I'll flip it over and get that second layer of coverage. So already that has provided me more coverage than this. So see, I have redness, I had it on both cheeks, and just that first layer of product has provided me a good amount of coverage. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. So just downward strokes. When I get up to the forehead, I really kind of just lay it down like this. Across both sides of the forehead using both sides of the brush, and then finish off with the nose and the chin and the neck if you need to. Now, after I do that initial laying down of the product, I do go in and kind of load my brush up, more so on the top than the sides, and then I'll go over and kind of buff a little bit in. Again, this is not, I'm still kind of going in downward motions. This is not the recommended way, and I don't feel like it works this good if I start out doing it that way. Doing that first layer, like I showed, really makes a world of difference in the final look and results that you get with this foundation. Now, I personally like that coverage for myself. However, if I look really close, I can see a little bit of redness peeking through. If that is the case and you want the most amount of coverage that you could possibly get with this product, and you can take a flock sponge. This is also Jane Iredale, and it's one of my favorite tools in my entire arsenal of makeup and tools. I have many of them. I have one in my vanity. I have one in my purse. I love them so much. And I take some of the product. You can even wet this if you want, but I find it works fine not doing it. And then really press it into the skin, and that is going to give you the utmost coverage without looking cakey. This has been used for tattoo cover-up. It works great. This is also water resistant for up to 40 minutes, and there have been demos that I have seen where you can tap this powder out onto a glass of water and it will not combine with it. I have used this in my kit many, many times. I have multiple colors in my kit. I have had people say they have swam in their makeup and it has held up using this product. It is great for super humid weather. If you want something to just hold up all day long, no questions asked. Now, all of Jane's foundations are recommended to set with one of their hydration sprays. I personally don't always do this step. I'm going to for the sake of this video, and I would say I probably do it 65% of the time. However, I don't always use a Jane hydration spray. I think any kind of hydrating spray will work, but there are certain minerals within the hydration sprays that work the best with the minerals within the foundation. I'm gonna use Balance today, which is the one that is more suited towards oily skin. However, if you know me, you know I don't have oily skin. It still works wonderful regardless. So I like to do that step before I move on to the rest of my products when I'm using a Jane foundation. If I wait until the very end, I feel like the spray doesn't have a chance to cover all of the actual foundation because it's got my bronzer and my blush and my highlight and all that other stuff on top of it. Whereas this way, it can do the job for all of the foundation on your face, and then once it sets down, you can go in and use your other products. That is just the way I feel like it works the best. You can see it is not a very flat finish. I will come in for you so you can see. It does not look powdery at all. Does have a little bit of a sheen to it. And all in all, is very fast to apply despite me talking through it. So I am going to finish the rest of my makeup and I will come back. I will talk about my final thoughts. I'll tell you who I think would benefit the most from this and continue to wax poetic about how much I love it. So I'll be right back. Okay, I have finished up all of my makeup and I did use everything Jane, so I will have that all listed in the description box. But everything really lays very nicely on top of this. Powders blend best over powders, so you know it's pretty much a given that if you use powder, blush, bronzer, and highlight, it's going to be great. Now the Jane Iredale cream stick blushes and bronzers and highlights are formulated to go over their powder foundations, and they really do very well. So that is something that you could definitely use on top of this if you wanted to, and I would suggest doing it that way because of how much pigment this has. Putting something underneath is really just gonna get covered up once you apply the foundation. It's no secret that I absolutely love this, but I know a lot of people are gonna ask how this differs from the Pure Pressed. Aside from the fact that it definitely has more pigment, which in turn really relays as more coverage, it actually has a little bit more of a luminous finish and is, in my opinion, better suited for super dry skin. Combo skin can easily wear this, and if you love a luminous finish and you also have oily skin, there's no saying you can't use this either. But I would suggest the Pure Pressed for a more normal to combo to oily, where I would suggest this for a more normal to combo to dry skin type. And the reason is, in my opinion, just the finish. Don't find one to be necessarily more hydrating on the skin than the other. I just find this one has a little bit more of a luminous finish. I also really like this for a setting powder if I wear something else underneath it. The Jane Iredale Beyond Matte Foundation with this lightly set over the top is one of my favorite combinations ever. I wear it quite a lot. And I don't want anybody to look at this, see it has so much pigment, and be scared to use something underneath it because it works great either way. So if you have maybe a skin tint that doesn't have as much coverage as you may want on any given day, but you really enjoy how the skin tint wears, definitely using something like this on top of it to set it down and give a little bit more coverage not only helps with the coverage, but also, in my opinion, the longevity, because of the fact that this is water resistant and really holds up well. So definitely another way that I love using it, not just by itself, but as a setting powder. And I do not think there is any age that cannot wear this powder. In fact, I feel like the older I get, the more I like it. Again, I used it on my client in my Makeup in Your 50s video, which I will put up in a card. I use it on mothers and grandmothers of the brides all the time, and it never fails. It always looks so beautiful on the skin. Quite honestly, that can be said for every single Jane Iredale base product, in my humble opinion, but this is just something truly special on more mature skin. But that does not mean that if you are a teenager that you can't wear this. I have had high school clients for prom and homecoming that I have used this on, and it looks just as beautiful. So really, there's nobody that I feel like is not going to benefit from this unless you have extremely oily skin, in which case I would definitely suggest the Pure Pressed, which I've already done a review on. So hopefully this has been helpful. If you have any additional questions, please let me know. I will put this down in the description box. I do have a 20% off code at Harbin House for all Jane Iredale products. Definitely take advantage of that because it just means you can get more, and there is never anything wrong with having more Jane in your collection. It's been a favorite brand of mine for many, many years, as you can see from past videos, and will continue to be so. So let me know if you have any questions. Thank y'all so much for watching. Be sure and like and subscribe before you leave so you don't miss out on any future videos. And I hope y'all all go out and have a very blessed day.